Herkese günaydın. Good morning everyone. Seozone'un içerik pazarlaması ayağı Contentson'a hoş geldiniz. Dün biraz geç başlayabilmiştik. Zannediyorum bugün de bu yanılgına ötürü 10'da başlarız gibi oldu. Biraz geç toparlanabildik. Çok özür diliyorum bunun için. Birazcık çok uzun tutmadan bir açılış konuşması yapacağım. Birazcık ev sahibi olarak kendimizden bahsetmek istiyorum. Bugün ev sahibi İçerik.com olarak bizleriz. İçerik.com nedir, neler yapar? İçerik.com'u biz bir sene önce yine seozone'da lansmanını yaptık. Bir pazar yeri projesi. Markalarla yazarları bir araya getirdiğimiz bir pazar yeri projesi. Şu anda yaklaşık 100 aktif yazarımız ve editörlerimizle birlikte markalara blog yazılarından e-ticaret ürün açıklamalarına kadar içerik desteği veriyoruz. Peki Contentson'un hikayesi nereden geliyor? Contentson'un hikayesi de aynı seozone'un hikayesiyle çok benzer. Seozone'u yıllar önce SEO alanında gördüğümüz yanlış uygulamalara bir çözüm getirebilmek adına hem de bu sektörü daha birbirine yakınlaştırabilmek adına başlamıştık 3 sene önce. Bu sene de geçtiğimiz sene İçerik.com'la birlikte seozone'yla açılışını yapmamızın ardından içerik pazarlamasında da aynı şeyi neden yapmayalım dedik ve ikinci günde seozone'un içerik pazarlaması gününü aldık. Bugün birbirinden değerli konuşmacılarımız olacak, ödüllü yazar ve editörler olacak dünyanın birçok yerinden gelen. Ben teşekkür ediyorum. Çok dediğim gibi kısa tuttum konuşmayı. Çünkü bir an önce konuşmalara geçmek istiyoruz. Benden sonra Distilled'ın şeyden bahsedeyim öncelikle. Dünyadaki en büyük SEO ajanslarından Distilled'ın içerik stratejisti Hena konuşacak. Hena. Teşekkür ediyorum.
Good morning. How are you doing? I'm so glad you're here. I thought I would be the only one because it's too early, but I'm very glad that you're here. Today, we're going to do a session called Jaws in Space. Before I kick off, I'd like to see a show of hands. Can you put your hand up if you're creating content right now, which you're hoping is going to get links and shares? Put your hands up. Oh, look at you lovely people. Isn't it hard? It's really, really hard. It's really, really hard, and that's what today's talk's all about. So let's kick off. You can steal this deck right now, put your name on it, download it, show it to your boss. So this is Distilled. This is the company who are good enough to pay my wages. And a few years ago, we made this. This is one of our most successful pieces ever. We made it last year. It got 2.2 million page views, 111,000 Facebook likes, and links from over 1,200 domains. Very successful. However, we also made this. This got just 31 Facebook likes. Now, that's effectively me and 30 other people. To be clear, I have more than 30 friends on Facebook. So even all of the people on Facebook who like me enough to be my friend didn't like this enough to like it, right? It's terrible. It's terrible. Now, we still don't always get it right today. What everyone agrees, I think, is that coming up with a good ideas, are paramount. They're really, really important. But I have an issue with this, mainly because I'm confused about what we mean by a good idea. What do we actually mean when we say a good idea? What we are normally talking about is something that appears to have worked. Something that appears to have worked after the fact. And that's just not terribly useful if you're creating content. So I think good ideas are really, really hard to spot, and I'm hoping to prove that today. So we're going to do a pop quiz right now. I'm going to show you 2 pieces of content, and I want you to tell me which got the most links, so links from the most domains. So we'll kick off with piece number 1. This is a speed reading test. effectively, it would take the average person 424 days to read Game of Thrones. And this test allows you to see if you could read it quicker. So hold this one in your head. Piece 1, Game of Thrones. Piece 2, what this piece does is it shows you, if you printed off all of the photos on Instagram that were uploaded in a year, how high the stack of photos would reach. It reaches into space. It's pretty impressive, right? So, put your hands up if you think Game of Thrones got the most links. Okay? And put your hands up if you think Instagram. You're so smart. Game of Thrones got 64 linking root domains. That's still good, right? We consider anything over 50 linking root domains to be successful. This stuff's tough. This was still successful. The Instagram piece got links from over 275 domains, right? Much, much, much more successful. So, you've seen which got the most links, but which got the most interactions on Facebook? Put your hands up if you think it was Instagram. And hands up for Game of Thrones. Hands up if you read this deck before. Okay, yeah, Game of Thrones, 50,000 Facebook interactions and just 5,000 Facebook interactions for the Instagram piece. And I think what this proves is that the relationship between social shares and links is not as linear as you might expect. So by this I mean, you could be thinking right now that if something gets a lot of shares, it automatically gets a lot of links, and vice versa, but it's not actually always the case. Sometimes links lead to increased social shares. So that's what happened here with the vocal ranges piece. This piece got picked up on a huge number of very popular sites, and as a result, it was shared by people. However, other times, social shares lead to links. So this is a game that we made called Got Rhythm, and it's gloriously simple. You hit play, and you'll hear a beat. A beat will come in. You tap along in time. The beat drops out, and you just need to keep tapping along in time as if the beat was still there. Now, I am terrible at this game. Absolutely awful at it. And Judith was laughing at me yesterday because she was like, "My God, Hannah, you made a game that you can't play? What's the matter with you?" And I was like, well, I don't know what to say. But when we launched this game originally, we went out to tons of journalists, and they were like, "We don't care. We don't care. We're not going to cover this piece." It got absolutely no coverage initially. So what we did was we paid to promote it on Facebook. So we did some feed ads in Facebook to promote the game. It then started moving with the Facebook likes, and people were playing it and people were sharing it. Then someone submitted it to Reddit, it went hot on Reddit, and then finally it got links from 330 domains. But our actual outreach was utterly ineffective initially. So, I want to try another one. I want you to raise your hands if you think that this piece got links from more than 100 sites. So this is the Small Business Guide to Google+. Put your hands up if you think this got links from more than 100 sites. None of you. Oh, just you. Hi, you're my favorite. Thank you. It did indeed. It got links from 215 sites. Very good. What about this one? It's a Small Business Guide to Facebook. Do you think this one got more links? Put your hands up if you think this got more links. Oh, quite a few of you. Wrong. Links from just 74 domains. Which I was kind of surprised about. I was like, really? Google+? More popular than Facebook? Incidentally, that piece is kind of old. I know Google+ is not a thing anymore, and it likely never was, but people were interested in it at one point. So hopefully what I've proved here is that spotting a good idea is tough. And I'm kind of giving you a somewhat easier job of it, right? Because I'm showing you finished pieces. But of course, when you're talking about ideas internally, when you're trying to come up with ideas internally, you don't have the benefit of a beautifully designed working piece, right? You're just talking in the abstract. So spotting an idea is tough. But the bigger problem, I think, is most of the time we are not even thinking in terms of ideas. We're just getting wrapped up in formats. So what do I mean by that? I mean this. I hear this all the time. Guides get links. Let's just do loads of guides. And that's ridiculous. That's really toxic thinking because a guide is a format. It's not an idea. Similarly, a video is a format. It's not an idea. And an infographic is a format. It's not an idea. And thinking like this is problematic because people don't share formats. They share ideas. Quick note on ideas. What the hell is an idea? This is what I think an idea is. An idea is a novel combination of previously unconnected elements in a way that adds value. That's hard to pass, so I'm going to just show you this instead. Do we have sound? This is going to lose something without sound. No? Do you want to sing along, Andras? Yeah? We're just going to skip that. This is awkward for everyone involved. Okay. That was a video by Axis of Awesome called 4 Chords. It's incredible. You should maybe watch it after this. And the thinking behind it is this, right? You've probably all thought at some point, there's a lot of pop songs out there that sound kind of the same. And maybe you've even thought, why is that? Well, the answer is that they all use the same 4 chords. That's why a lot of them sound the same. Now, you could just write a list of all the songs that use the same 4 chords. You could just write a list, yeah? But that's unlikely to gain traction, right? It's not until you show me, or indeed I could have showed you, that you might really get it. So the reason that that Axis of Awesome video, I think, is a great example of a fantastic idea is because it combines previously unconnected elements. So why do all pop songs sound the same? They all use the same 4 chords. And they bring it to life with a mashup. So they execute in a way that adds value, right? The video did not get shared by people because it was a video, right? The video wasn't the thing. It is a funny video, but this is the real reason why people shared this stuff. And this is actually what you're competing against. In reality, these sorts of ideas are incredibly compelling and incredibly shareable. So it's not enough when we're creating content for clients, or if you're in-house, if you're creating content for your company, to think just in terms of what your competitors are doing. Your commercial competitors are not actually your competition. There are incredibly talented people creating content all of the time, and that's actually they're the people you're really competing with. So it's that kind of thing you need to be shooting for. But I'm getting ahead of myself, right? Let's rewind a little bit. So we're back here with this awful piece of content, which I'm just going to get off the screen really quickly. Now, we don't have the luxury of creating and launching a bunch of different things before hitting on a winner, right? Because we get fired. I work for an agency. I'd very quickly get fired by clients. I imagine if you were working in-house, you'd also get fired. None of us have this luxury. So I was really interested in trying to figure out how we could improve our strike rate. How can we fail less often? Now, failing less often might not sound like a grand, far-reaching kind of goal to try and achieve. But in reality, failing less often, I would settle for most of the time. So how do we improve our strike rate? Well, we started out with this. This book, Made to Stick, is by 2 guys called Chip and Dan Heath. And in it, they try and deconstruct what makes an idea stick. So what do they mean by stick? They mean ideas that people talk about, ideas that people remember, ideas that people share. So what sort of ideas stick? Well, a great example of an idea that sticks is an urban legend. Now, an urban legend is a story which spreads spontaneously in various formats. So, I'm going to tell you a little story. A friend of mine was away on business in Chicago. He decides, because he's free for the evening, to head out to a bar alone. He meets a beautiful stranger. And they head to a motel. In the morning, he wakes to find himself in a bathtub full of ice. There's a freshly stitched incision on his side, and call 911 is scrawled in lipstick on the bathroom tiles. He is admitted to hospital and is told that one of his kidneys has been removed. I found this picture when I was making this slide deck on the Martha Stewart website. What is wrong with Martha Stewart and what is wrong with this guy? Like, it's terrifying to me. So, the authors of the book, Chip and Dan Heath, wanted to figure out why people shared this story, right? And here's what they came up with. So it's simple. It's a very simple story, and it's very easy to tell. I've told you this story. You can tell all your friends this story tonight, if you should wish to. Maybe not, maybe, I don't know. And it has one clear message, right? There's just one clear message. Don't accept drinks from strangers, possibly. Or, you know, don't cheat on your wife. One very clear message. It's unexpected, because a kidney seems a very high price to pay for a one-night stand, right? It's concrete. There are tangible details that you can hook onto. There's that bathtub full of ice, the call 911 being scrawled on the wall. These are all hooks that you can very easily imagine, right? It seems credible. I'm not sure the degree to which it seems credible, but actually these stories are shared, and they're often shared as truth. There have actually never been any crimes of this nature recorded, so as far as the police are aware, no one's ever actually had their kidney stolen or woken up in a bathtub full of ice, but nonetheless, it seems credible. It provokes an emotional reaction in people. You're like, oh my God. And it's a great story. And the truth is, people remember stories, not stats. Way up at the beginning of this presentation, I told you how many links the Instagram piece got. And I'm willing to bet that you can't remember how many that Instagram piece got right now. But you can remember this story. And that's exactly the point. People remember stories, they don't remember stats. So, sadly, I'm not in the business of inventing urban legends, although I think it sounds like a fantastic job, and maybe one day that's what I'll do. However, what we are seeking to do is to create things which other people will want to share. So, we've taken the made-to-stick framework and we've added a factor of our own, and we use this framework when we are ideating. So, we have simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, story, and shareable. I will take you through them each in turn. So, simple. What do we mean by simple? Simple is the hardest thing to achieve, actually. Simple means there's just one clear message, and in PR or journalistic terms, it's about not burying the lead. This is the toughest thing to do. It sounds easy and it's not. Here is a great example of a gloriously simple piece. This piece does just one thing. It just shows you how many photos, like how high that stack of photos would be. That's all it does. It's terrifying doing this, because if you pick the wrong one thing, no one will care. But the solution is not to cram your pieces full of hundreds of things in the hope that one of them will stick. Keep it simple. This is the toughest. Unexpected, right? What's new or different? So, I've shown you this piece before, the vocal ranges piece. The unexpected thing here was that Axl Rose, we found, had a greater vocal range than Mariah Carey. And that was unexpected. That was the reason why a lot of people covered it, and a reason why a lot of people were very vocal about it. Concrete. Are the details tangible? Can people understand what you're talking about, or are you dealing in the abstract? The best way I can talk you through this is this one sentence. You can't pick up a calorie. You can pick up a burger. A burger is a concrete thing. It's a tangible thing that you can pick up and you can eat. You can't pick up a calorie. A calorie is an abstract concept. This is a good example of a concrete piece. So what it shows is just how much profit these various tech companies make per second. Now, I'm sure that we all know that Apple make a frighteningly huge amount of money. But if I told you they make $12,000 in profit every 10 seconds, that makes it much clearer and easier for you to understand the scale, the sort of money they're actually making. It's crazy, right? Concrete. Credible. This is pretty simple, right? Is your data credible? Is the story credible? Is it credible coming from you? Emotional. Does what you're doing provoke an emotional reaction in people? Does it make people feel something? Here's an example of an emotional piece we did. This was called What We Really Value. And we approached photographers, 50 photographers across the world, and we asked them to take a photograph of the thing that they valued the most and to tell us why they valued it so highly. So we got pictures of like childhood toys, we got pictures of people's grandmother's jewelry. This is the thing at the top there, which looks slightly suspicious, is like a mitt, which somebody's dad gave them. Gorgeous. Lots and lots of emotions provoked in that piece, right? Story. Are you telling a story? People remember stories, not stats. This is a piece we did right around the time of the Instagram acquisition. And what it shows is all of the acquisitions by 5 major tech companies. And you can see the scale of the WhatsApp acquisition, right? Huge. The biggest thing that Facebook had ever bought. Well, the largest amount of money that Facebook had ever paid at this point. So, and finally, shareable. You need to ask yourself, would someone look good sharing this? What does sharing your piece say about someone? So here's a good example of a piece that people look good sharing. Almost everyone can read Game of Thrones quicker than 424 days, right? You look good sharing this. You look good sharing this because you're boasting a little bit about how quickly you can read. And people who love reading love boasting about what they've read and how fast they go. So, now in reality, you do not need all 7 factors to be successful. But actually in this case, more is more. So the higher the number of factors that you can hit, the greater your chances of success. So, further reading for those who want it. This is a deck I did about a year ago, which is just tells the story of the Axl Rose piece from end to end. And it's a really good example of how our creative process works. So you may like this if you want to go steal that. The success framework does help us fail less often, but it hasn't solved all of our problems. Here are the problems, right? It is a useful tool. It is. But like all tools, it can be used as a weapon. And here's the problem, right? Good ideas rarely seem like good ideas at their inception, right? That is what stops the majority of people from having them. When you first conceive of an idea, you can almost guarantee that it won't be good. And it's very easy to use this framework to shoot ideas down. So it's very easy to use the framework and say, this is a terrible idea because it's not simple, it's far too complicated. Or this is a terrible idea because it doesn't tell me anything I didn't already know. It's not unexpected, or it's not shareable, or it's not concrete. If you just use this framework to shoot ideas down, you will very quickly have no ideas. No good. So instead, what you need to do is use the framework to build ideas up. So if you've got a little kernel of an idea, you can use the framework to figure out how you might make it more simple, more unexpected, more concrete, more credible, emotional, story-driven, and shareable, right? That's how you need to use the framework. So, you can also use the framework later in the ideation process to help you decide which ideas to pitch or which ideas to take forward. The framework's really useful for this because, as anyone who creates content frequently will tell you, if you come up with an idea, you frequently fall in love with it. It's very hard to remain emotionally detached from an idea that you've come up with. You'll fall in love with it, you'll think it's great, and it might not be, right? That's the reality. So, but there's another issue, a bigger issue. The made-to-stick framework helps you develop good ideas, but we're not just trying to come up with good ideas. We're trying to come up with good ideas which are right for our clients. And we were finding that clients didn't always understand why they should care about these criteria. And ultimately, the reason was that there was insufficient onus on why it's a good idea for this company, right? There may be 1,000 good ideas that like one company would be ideal for, right? Utterly suitable for one sort of company, utterly unsuitable for another, right? So, we found that some of our best ideas weren't getting signed off by the client, and that's a massive problem for us because if the idea isn't signed off, we can't produce it, we get no links, their rankings don't improve, everything is awful and they fire us, right? So we need to get ideas signed off. So, we needed to get better at coming up with good ideas which were right for the client and get them signed off, which meant that we needed to get better at pitching ideas. So, I was like, who's great at pitching ideas? I don't know. Well, Hollywood, right? The high concept pitch for Alien, the 1979 film Alien. Who has seen Alien? Put your hands up. Have I gotten, oh no, we're good, brilliant. So the high concept pitch for Alien was Jaws in space. And that is an incredible amount of information in just 3 words, right? It tells you a lot about the film. So we know that in Alien, the ship is not going to be sleek and clean like in other sci-fi movies. Remember, this is the 70s and all sci-fi and space movies looked very sleek and clean. This is not going to look like that. The ship is going to be grubby and broken and low-tech, just like that boat in Jaws, which Jaws actually, like, smashed through at one point, right? We understand that. We also know that the film will be filled with tension and conflict, and that not everyone will understand the danger that they're in. Just like in Jaws, you've got one guy going, seriously, there's a man-eating shark, we need to close the beaches, and then you've got the mayor going, oh, hell no, it's holiday weekend, there is no way we're shutting the beaches. You have that tension and conflict, and you had exactly the same tension and conflict in Alien, right? You've got an artificial human being who's got the directive that the crew is expendable and that he needs to bring the alien home, and then you've got Ripley going, oh, hell no, we are not bringing that alien home, right? So we understand a lot with just 3 words. Now, I figured we could learn from this, but my aim was never to be able to pitch ideas in just 3 words, or even 6 words, because you wind up sounding like this guy, right? 0 credibility and awful. So, no. My aim was to distill our thinking and communicate why our ideas were right for the client. So, this is what we came up with. Relevant, resonant, and different. I'll talk you through them each in turn. It's hard to explain in the abstract, so I'm going to use an example. Daily routines. This is a piece that we made. Incidentally, raise your hands if you think that daily routines piece is a good idea. Okay, just a couple of you. Well, hopefully I can convince the rest of you. So, relevant, resonant, different. 1, relevant. So this is all about brand fit. Why is this piece the right thing for this company to do? So, Podio. Podio is a project management tool. And their strapline is empowering you to work the way you want. And they were targeting people in the creative industry. So they wanted to target both in-house creative teams and also creative teams at agencies. It was a really nice brief for us because we were essentially being asked to create the sort of content we'd like, which was really fun. Most of the time we don't get to have fun like that, I'm not going to lie. So, what's the piece? Well, daily routines, what it does is it illustrates exactly how various creative people structured their days, right? So when they worked, when they did personal admin, when they did creative work, when they slept, when they exercised, right? And what the piece does is it places Podio directly in the conversations people are already having about how best to work. And it does it in such a way which is not self-serving. So when people are having conversations about how to be more creative and how best to work, Podio aren't popping up going, use our tool. You should definitely use our tool. They're not saying that, right? They're showing this piece instead. So that was relevant. So why it's relevant for the brand. Point 2, resonant. This is ultimately about why our target audience and target publishers are going to care about this. So why will anyone care about this? Now, creativity and productivity are perpetually hot topics, right? We see this stuff over and over and over again. This is it's just an article, right? Just a long-form piece. And it's been shared on Facebook 1.4 million times. Which is incredible, right? I expect not least because people want to justify having messy rooms. Maybe. But nonetheless, fascinating. This is a listicle, as the title suggests. 18 things highly creative people do differently. This was shared 177,000 times on Facebook. And this is a personal favorite of mine. Drink beer for big ideas and coffee to get them done. So if you're coming to the party tonight and you buy me a beer, maybe I'll come up with a fantastic idea for you. So we know that people share this stuff. And because people share this stuff, that means that journalists want to cover it. Why? Because journalists are targeted with page views. The publisher model is still really old school for the most part. Journalists are targeted with hitting a certain number of page views because page views equals ad impressions and ad impressions equal money. So one of the easiest ways to get those page views is to get something that's shared a lot because then lots of people will visit it, right? It's a virtuous circle. So, but why will people share our piece specifically, right? It's not enough just to go, people share this stuff. That's a very dangerous place to play it. We think people will share our piece because it makes them look smart. There's a lot of very highbrow, creative people in that piece. So sharing that piece makes you look smart, it makes you look cultured, it makes it look like you're interested and interesting, and ultimately it makes it look like you care about being creative. And what's interesting is that people really care about being creative now. Creativity is a very desirable trait. It didn't used to be, interestingly. My dad never thought I would amount to anything because I was creative, and creative meant lazy, flighty, unable to stick at anything. Now people want to hire creative people, which is lucky for me, because my dad worries about me less now. So, we know the publishers we want coverage from feature this stuff. This is a report from BuzzSumo. I'm not sure if BuzzSumo works in Turkish. Does anyone know? I don't know if it works. But anyway, it does. You're looking, no? No one's looking. It does. Brilliant, you should use it. It's really great. You can get a free trial. So this is a content report from BuzzSumo, a content analysis report for the term creativity. So these are all of the sites that cover these sort of topics. And these are exactly the sites that I want coverage from, right? So we've done relevant, we've done resonant, different. Core point, right? How is this piece different from what's already out there? How are we adding value? So we've seen there's a lot of long-form content. We've seen there's a lot of listicles. How is this different? Well, it's different because it's not long-form content or listicles, right? But actually, the data had been visualized before. It's incredibly ugly, I think, this piece. This is not my piece. This is someone else's piece. But it had actually done really well. This piece, I think, last time I looked, had links from over 400 domains, even though I find it impenetrable. But ultimately, it's a poster, right? That execution was not built for the web. the execution there, the previous execution, doesn't allow you to compare and contrast the creative routines of the people featured. It doesn't allow you to explore the data or see their real stories. Our execution will. So, have I managed to convince you if it's a good idea now? Put your hands up if you think it's a good idea now. Just you. You're my favorite now. You. Okay. You want to know how it went down? You can never be 100% confident when you launch anything, right? This is my life constantly. I swing wildly from superhero-like invincibility to crippling self-doubt. And if you create content, you too can join me in the crippling self-doubt superhero club. I'll create something on Facebook or something, I don't know. It went down great. 250,000 page views, 40,000 Facebook likes, and links from over 1,000 domains. Hooray! So, please note, results like this don't just happen. We spent over 60 hours promoting that piece. We spend over 60 hours promoting every piece we make. Nothing happens by magic. So today we use the success framework from Chip and Dan Heath alongside this relevant, resonant, different methodology of pitching, right? It means our ideation process is more rigorous. It forces us to think harder about whether or not our ideas make sense for our clients, and ultimately it makes getting sign-off easier. We're failing less often. Final thoughts. Getting good at this stuff is hard. There's a few things that we do which we think have helped us get better. One, I said this at the top, but it bears repeating. Focus on ideas, not formats. An idea is a novel combination of previously unconnected elements in a way that adds value. An infographic is not an idea, it's a format. People don't share formats, they share ideas. Further reading, for those who want it. The deck's already online, don't panic about scribbling right now. 2, take this seriously. Don't be like me. A few years ago, we used to present creative ideas like this. This is an email. This is a real-life email that I sent. Don't take a photo of this. This is a real-life email that I sent, which I'm guessing you can't read, so I'll read you a bit. This is how I used to talk about ideas to clients. Idea number 1, title, James Bond. Map out the travels of James Bond around the world. In each film, he covers a number of different countries. You could map these out, and you could see the total journey, and also the journeys relating to each film. There may be copyright issues here. We're unlikely to be able to use logos. What? What is that? That's the worst idea I've ever heard. It's not even an idea. I've sort of gone, something about James Bond, because people sort of like James Bond. What? Ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. There's another great one here, wine. The title of the piece is Wine. Brilliant, Hannah, brilliant. We could look at how much wine is produced in the States, how much is consumed in the States, how much is exported into where, how much is imported into where. Then we could show wine flow across the world. What? Why? Why would anyone care? No one will care. It's a horrible idea. I have no idea who would care. I've then gone on to say it could be a series. We'll do one for whiskey as well, because nobody will care about that either. Awful. And then my favorite one here, journeys that change the world. We'll just map out some journeys of like Thomas Cook, Columbus, Marco Polo. I'm slightly concerned about who our linking audience might be. So I've basically said, here's an idea that no one will link to. Here's an idea that no one will cover. It's frightening. Now, fortunately, none of you are as stupid as me, and you don't do this, and you would never dream of doing this. But I think it's a useful illustration to show, like, where we've come from, right? Like I say, this was me, I think, 2010. Brilliant, Hannah, brilliant. So, those were not ideas, right? I think I probably spent 10 minutes on the bus, sort of going, oh, James Bond, yeah, sure, fine, right? Those were not ideas. That's terrible. You won't be surprised to hear that the client didn't want to do any of those ideas. I don't blame them. They were awful, terrible ideas. Today we present creative ideas in person with a slide deck, and we spend significantly longer on the ideation process. You need to. You absolutely need to. Finally, keep on keeping on. What do I mean by this? Continue to evolve. Continue to evolve your approach and your processes. Because there is no finish line with this stuff. You will never be done with this. You will never get to a point where you will be good at this. You just keep getting a little better each time, right? Good luck out there. And that's me. Thank you very much.
Sorularınız varsa alabilir Anna.
Hello.
Besides share numbers, what other KPIs that you are following after the sharing of the idea and the content?
Okay, so I'm just going to repeat the question. I was just asked, aside from social share numbers, what else do we report on? What are our metrics that we report on? So, ultimately, the reason that we do any of this stuff is to improve rankings for clients across the board. So we heard a few times yesterday, or I heard a few times yesterday, that links are decreasing in importance, right? In the future, you won't need to build links to your website anymore. That may be true in the future, maybe. But links aren't going away anytime soon. So the things that we measure on an individual piece-by-piece basis, we measure things like how much traffic we send to the site. We measure what that traffic does afterwards. Just to be clear, most of the time the traffic doesn't convert directly afterwards, but they may do some sort of soft micro conversion. So they may sign up for emails, they may sign up to receive content from us again at a later date. So we look at the traffic and what that traffic does, one. We look at how many, like the numbers of linking root domains we get, and we also look at the quality of the links. So the metric that we use domain authority, which is a MOS metric. I think Ahrefs also pulls in that MOS metric as well. So we look at links. We also look at social shares, but then the bigger picture thing that we're really doing is we will be monitoring rankings for the whole website, right? So the important keywords that the client wants to rank for overall. So we're monitoring those rankings over time and seeing what effect the links we've built have had on the rankings of the whole website. Does that make sense? And that's really the end goal. So we talk in a micro way about individual pieces of content, but the end goal is having the whole site rank better. Does that make sense? Cool. Any more for any more? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anna.